it do? Welcome to another episode of the Neighborhood Socialpreneur. I am your host, I am your guy, I am your go-to for the duration of this video. Biz by Josh coming at y'all live and direct. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for another video. Alright, y'all, we back at it again today. Okay? Look. I got a lot of topics I want to talk about today, okay? But we're going to talk about this one right here, alright? Fear, y'all. Fear. How to get over it, okay? Who knows what fear is? I don't know who knows what fear is, but we just going to get into it and I'm going to tell you, right? So, fear is false evidence appearing real, okay? That's what the acronym says and stipulates. However, we're going to talk about what exactly fear is, why fear stops people from being able to do the things that they want to do, and how to actually get over it, right? What people have to understand is that fear is a chemical imbalance within your body that essentially is a fight or flight response. It's what happens when, and I'm not a biologist or a scientist by any way stretch of the word, so if I say any of this wrong, I appreciate it if y'all correct me in the comments. But fear is essentially what happens when the amygdala gets overstimulated and forces somebody into a panic state or a fight or flight response, right? So fear, when you think about the concept of, doing anything that makes you fearful or activates your amygdala is going to make you fearful, which means that the same muscle or the same function in the brain that gets activated if somebody puts a gun to your face or you see something traumatic happen is the same exact feeling that somebody can get when they have to speak in public, or they want to go and start a business, or they want to go and ask out the person that they want to go and ask out. Whatever the case is, whatever y'all can think of, right? In my mind, that lets me know that fear is a chemical response that happens within the brain, which means the component of fearlessness is also a component in the mind that happens in the brain, right? And I don't even necessarily want to say fearlessness, because I feel as if fearlessness is not something that exists. You can't have courage if you are fearless. If you are doing something that you are not afraid of doing, then guess what? There's no reason for courage to actually occur within said situation. So don't strive to be fearless, strive to be courageous. What is courageousness? Courageousness is also something that happens in the mind, I found out. Shout out to Google for all this, by the way. And that is what happens when your prefrontal cortex starts to take over your mind. That is the area of your mind that governs rationale, critical thinking, and being able to handle and break down complex issues, which lets you know that you can control how you look at certain situations. You can control in your mind and your noggin, your dome piece, you can control how you see situations. You can control the things that you are afraid of. You can control the things that you are going to have courage with. Courage with. Lost my voice a little bit. I talk a lot, y'all. I talk a lot, so my voice go in and out. But roll with me here. So I wanted to give y'all a bit of a background on that. That took a little bit longer than I wish it would, or wish it would have, but we're gonna just roll with it. Anyways, how do you overcome fear? How do you overcome fear? Well, they say that in order to engage the prefrontal cortex, that is the space that governs rationale, right? Rationale. So, in my mind, how you actually start to create rationale in your life is by actually doing things in your physical world, so that way your mental world can actually see what you are doing physically. What do I mean by this? Some of y'all asking, hey, yo, Biz, what you mean by this, man? You're going a little over my head. It's 5 minutes deep and you talking about some astral projection. And it's like, no, I'm not. Roll with me here. In life, in order to get over your fears, the reason why a fear is so strong, is so paramount, is so powerful is because guess what? It is here in your mind, but it is so big in projection. A fear is so big here because it seems like this large, all-encapsulating, all-encompassing thing in real life. And the reality is, again, going back to the acronym that I said at the beginning of this video, false evidence appearing real, that means that, guess what? A fear is false evidence appearing real. Okay? So how do you counteract false evidence that appears real? By actually creating real evidence inside of your life. Creating real evidence for your mind to be able to go back to your Rolodex and say, hey, guess what? This isn't a situation to be afraid of, right? So I'll even give y'all an example. Let's say you're in a situation where you want to make a lot of money in your life, right? This is something that I had a big fear of, right? That, believe it or not, as much as a hustler as I've been in my entire life, I was really afraid to make certain decisions because I knew that they would yield certain results. And my amygdala, whenever I'd get to a point, whether it was back when I was still like day trading and I'd be up a few $1,000s, or, you know, get offered a promotion in a certain position, or have an opportunity to close a very large deal, there were a lot of bags that I fumbled because I was afraid to go to that level. So because I was trying to go from here to here, the problem and the fear would get amplified because I am looking at it as this all-encompassing issue that is much bigger than it actually is, which merely, when you look at it, it's just me doing the things that are necessary to go to the next level. So how do you actually take care of that? How did I get over certain things? I had to start breaking up the issues into smaller pieces, right? Even like when I was training for my marathon, some of y'all have to remember, and you can go back and look at some of the videos at the beginning of this channel, back when I had posted like maybe 10 videos and I just stopped because I wasn't consistent at the time. I was not built for it, for real. You can go back and look and see, oh, yo, Josh was pretty chunky. Josh was pretty big. That face was out here. The body was like this. You feel me? Like, we was not tapered in the way that we needed to be. Because I was drinking all the time. I was stressed from work. I wasn't working out. Well, I was working out, so I still had muscle, but I wasn't doing my cardio. I wasn't eating right. You know what I mean? I was always stressed. I was always on edge because my fears were constantly being amplified. So I was like 290 pounds. And for me, I wanted to lock back in. Ooh, do I have something on my lip? Yo, why don't y'all tell me I had something on my lip, though? Hold on. Hold up. Let me clean myself up. Okay, cool. We clean. All right. But for me, in order to get to a point where I said, you know what? I want to get under 220 pounds. I want to be a healthy BMI for my weight and my height, right? So I need to figure out a way to lose 70 pounds. I couldn't start with the idea of, hey, I want to get to 220 pounds, because the problem and the fear was so big. I'm like, I'm never going to get there. I haven't been that size since I was 21 years old. There's no way I'm going to be able to go from here to here and run a daggone marathon. And I was right. There's no way, if you have never jumped this before, going from here to here ever makes sense. If you're used to doing little bunny hops and doing this, then even going here is going to be difficult. We're not even talking about here. We're talking about just going from here to here. So what I realized is I had to master levels. If I wanted to get here, I had to start here. Okay? How do you start here? I need to get to a point where I'm consistently doing 10,000 steps a day, right? A marathon is 26.2 miles, and I got to run that, John. So let me get to a point where I'm consistently doing 10,000 steps a day, right? First month or first couple weeks, I was focused on doing 10,000 steps a day, okay? Next goal, okay, cool. Let's actually get to a point where we're running that, and now we're doing like 20 miles a week. Okay, now let's get to 30. Let's get to 35. Let's get to 40 a week. Let's get to a point where now we are consistently running 13 miles. Let's get to a point where we're consistently running 15 miles. Let's get to a point where now we're working that down on time. Let me move my hand over here. Let's get to a point where now we are dialing in on nutrition a lot better. Let's get to a point where now we are dialing in and getting 10,000 steps a day, plus getting our run in. Let's get to a point where now we are lowering our stress, where we're getting better sleep, where we're getting better quality nutrition, like I said, where we're, prioritizing health, meditation. Let's get to a point where we can run 26.2 miles, even on a bad leg. False evidence appearing real. Something that I was extremely afraid of doing, I simply broke down into small little steps and worked my way up. The reason why problems seem so big to us as human beings and as people is because guess what? We are nervous about how long it takes to go from here to here because we're trying to do this crazy jump. And that's what would happen with anybody. If you woke up making 50K today and you have not been taking the steps to plan to make $1 million, going from here to here is going to be an extremely scary jump. Hell, going from here to 100,000 is a very scary jump, because now you're worried about, hey, do I have the skill set to actually get this job done? Am I going to be able to keep it? Am I going to lose this and have to go back down to 50? Are people going to be laughing at me if that happens? Do I have really what it takes? Survivor's guilt kicks in, right? Or what is that called? Not survivor's guilt. It is, what is the term? Imposter syndrome. Excuse me. But imposter syndrome starts to kick in. And imposter syndrome makes us think that we are not deserving of the thing, whether we worked for it or not. For me, by the time I got to marathon status, I knew that I was capable of doing it because I had been working at it for 11 months leading up to that. I had stopped drinking. I hadn't touched a lick of alcohol. I hadn't touched a single drug. I had dropped over 70 pounds. My weigh-in, I wanted to get to 220 for the marathon. I weighed in at 211. So I over exceeded my goal. So when it got really tough for me, and like the fear for me was like not being able to complete it, not being able to finish it when I did start. And guess what? For me, I put in so many reps in my mind where guess what? That was just false evidence appearing real. But I had real evidence that was able to counteract that false evidence. I had real evidence that was factual. I had real stuff in my Rolodex. I remember those tough runs. When I first went to corporate America, I remember those hard conversations, being the only black dude on the sales and marketing floor, one of few, right? I remember, hopping into tough meetings and having to speak with somebody with, a tough Southern accent that comes from a very like known racist part of the South, and still having to go in and close a deal. I remember what it was like coming from the hood and trying to work my way up and trying to figure it out. Courage only comes when you create actionable steps to overcome your fear. You only get over the hump when you work your way over the fear, okay? You can't walk around it. You can't act like it doesn't exist. You have to work your way through it and over it. That is the only way that you can conquer your fears, all right? And a lot of y'all are very fearful of certain things in your life. Some of y'all are afraid to go to that next level. Some of you are afraid to start that business. Some of you are afraid to get in that relationship with that person. Some of you are afraid to go and reconnect with your family members. Some of you are afraid to go and take that shot and move out of the country. Some of y'all are afraid to go and do that thing that really makes your soul sing, because guess what? It is false evidence appearing real, telling you that this is reality, and the reality is that it is not. That's it. It isn't. It's not real. It doesn't exist. My phone over here about to die, so I gotta move quick, y'all. But that's what I wanted to talk to y'all about. False evidence appearing real is nothing more than us thinking that, guess what, something is reality when it is all in our mind. But the reality is, guess what, when you figure out ways to calm down your amygdala, you calm down your amygdala by constantly taking on the issue little by little until your amygdala realizes that, guess what, I don't need to be in a fight or flight response for this situation, right? And your prefrontal cortex comes in and says, hey, don't worry, bro, I got you. We're good. This is my domain. I have the rationale to actually make this happen. So that's my word for y'all today. Set big goals, but set smaller goals to get there. Strive to achieve big things, but do the little things first, because guess what? That is what adds credence to your mind to let you know, you, not anybody else, let you know that you can do whatever it is you set your mind to. That's what it's all about. Thank y'all for tuning in today for another episode of the Neighborhood Socialpreneur. I am your host, your guy, your go-to for the duration of this video, Biz by Josh, coming at y'all live and direct. Once again, I appreciate y'all. We're slowly but surely growing this channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what y'all want me to talk about next. I'm gonna holler at y'all. One love, one life. Peace.